Wherever you go, doesn't matter what you do, you can't hide, there's no escape. No amount of fun that will keep you long enough to forget all your troubles. We're just running from ourselves in the
end. Spark Infinity, how are you? I hope you're having a fantastic day. It looks like the technical gremlins got the best of us today, but somehow we managed to get Lee on today to share his story. How are you doing today, Lee?
Oh, pretty well. Thank you.
Glad to hear it. We don't have a lot of time, but I'm going to try to hit the key points, and maybe we could have you back in the future as well. I have it that you are a geophysicist and hydrologist, and you spent about 25 years of your life doing that. How has that impacted your creativity?
Well, it sort of pointed me one direction, and I had to repoint myself from that direction. Although my latest book has a lot to do with geophysics. In fact, it's almost like the Kilauea volcano is in the book.
Yeah. How was that transition from your career to writing? Did they kind of interweave, or did you eventually get to the point where you're like, I want to write children's books?
It was more of a retirement activity than while I was writing the technical books. So there's a little space between the two activities.
Gotcha. So you got yourself into retirement, and then you thought to yourself that you might want to take up some writing.
Yes. I mean, I had been writing the whole time, but on technical subjects. And once I had my kids to read to, they were sort of encouraging me to write those things down, and we went from there.
Do you have grandchildren now as well?
Yes, I do.
Ah, indeed.
A bunch nearby.
Well, I'm sure you must be very proud and very happy. And of course, you can share your works with your children, your grandchildren, and beyond at this point. So tell us a little bit about the inspiration behind these books of yours.
Well, so far, they are all taking a similar theme. I call them my cheese series because there are 3 mice in search of cheese in all of the books, but they travel from state to state to get there. I don't know if you're seeing this, but Florida cheese,
Yes.
Wisconsin cheese, California cheese, and Minnesota cheese are the 4 books.
Indeed, they are. I just brought them up on screen so that everyone could get a look at these. And so you have different themes based on the state. Are you planning to cover all the states?
Well, that was coming into my mind, but I would have to be like 150 years old to finish it.
Certainly. Yeah, you would have to be pretty highly prolific to put together that many books.
Well, it's not hard for me to write, and the illustrations are mine too, so I can whip them out pretty fast. But that's still it takes about a year to get it published. So,
yeah. Are you working with a traditional publisher?
Well, not exactly. Have you ever heard of Ingram Sparks?
I have.
Well, I went a couple anyway, maybe 3 books with them, but I'm sort of more self-publishing now on this last one because they changed their operations and I didn't really like the direction they were going.
Okay. Do you enjoy being a self-published author versus a more published one?
Well, we just started on this Minnesota cheese, so it hasn't really ramped up to anything to brag about at this point. But I think once we get to the Minnesota audience, they're going to enjoy the part about having an old Minnesota Viking football player as one of the stars in the show. So it'll probably go over pretty well there.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else you'd like to highlight about that book?
It's also has a little lesson for any teenager trying to get on American Idol. on how to get your song technique improved. So it's a different subject, but they're all crammed in that one book.
That's awesome. Now, writing is something I think a lot of people find quite challenging. How have you found writing? Is it something that you always enjoyed, or something you did because of your career and then brought it into your passion, or is it actually your passion?
Well, I would say it has always been somewhat of a passion, even when it was technical, because I had to make the technical interesting. I had to make sure there were no mistakes, the nitty gritty of writing a book. Um, it was they were reviewed by 20 different people at the United States Geological Survey. So um, the writing comes pretty quick and easy. It's depends on the audience you're writing for as to whether they'll appreciate it. And the first few were very well appreciated.
Hmm. Do you have any tips for like writing with an audience in mind? Is it just about trying to know as much of them about them as possible?
When it's a children's audience, you have to inject humor. I mean,
Mm,
that's a guarantee that has to be in there one way or the other. Sometimes it's done just with the characters. I mean, these mice wear funny hats. They talk in foreign accents, so we're doing as much as we can there. Sometimes it's the situation they put themselves in. They're standing at the bottom of the stairs that lead to the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., and wondering how they're going to get up there. So it's the inventiveness that comes into play also.
mm.
I could go on, but that gives you a little taste.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you take inspiration from anywhere? Are there any authors that you look up to?
Well, I certainly do look up to a lot of the children's book authors. That's mainly in the type of drawing I do,
Mm,
but because my stories are a bit different than anything I've seen on the shelf.
very cool. Do you, s- what would you describe as being, or do you have any struggles? Have you had any struggles to this point in your creative journey?
Well, the COVID years were a struggle. I couldn't get out and market it, is what it amounted to. So
Yeah.
the one book, California Cheese, although I think well written, never got to the eyes of the people that it needed to get to.
Uh, what was your like main or primary way of marketing these books? What is that, events and book signings and stuff like that?
That certainly played a heavy role. Um, Going to classrooms where there were a lot of kids all in one room
Mm,
certainly helped, but I couldn't go to a classroom during COVID.
yeah.
And I, I guess you'll have to repeat the question for me to know where to go from here.
No, I think that was great. So like you highlighted a little bit of the struggle of COVID and not being able to go to classrooms and places like that to promote your book. So yeah, the question was primarily about promoting your book and what sort of ways you were doing that.
Well, the previous book was a little easier to promote in that it was Wisconsin cheese where I live. So I would just travel to all the cheese shops and they would buy it.
Oh, good, good. That's very clever.
And it
But
was fun to taste a little cheese all over the state.
no kidding. Uh, I'm actually a big believer in that side of things too. As someone who grinded it out on social media and tried to get stuff out online, certainly some of my books did okay online. Some of them sold hundreds of copies, but kind of on a long-term basis, it hasn't exactly worked out that way. And live events have certainly been among one of the better promotion tools, I would say.
I like to go to them when I can find them. I mean, sometimes they'll charge $100 just to have a chair, so I sort of avoid those. But when I can afford it, I'll go to those live events.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have any messages you would like to share with all of our creatives in Spark Infinity?
Well, if you've got a spark, follow that spark and do it, because you'll never know whether it will be popular or not until you've got it out there. And
Yeah.
the publishing process itself is not that expensive. So you've got to take a little bit of a chance with that. You have to have maybe $800 lying around somewhere before you start, but it's worth it.
Isn't that true? Yeah, you're just not going to know until you put it out where. And with
Right.
creative work, it seems to be like that. I've produced music, I've produced books, various other things through the years, but even when you're thinking about your audience, even when you feel like you have a good handle on what they might want or what they might need, sometimes the cover makes the difference. Sometimes the title makes the difference. You just don't know.
Yep. I've gone with a little different cover this time. There's no mice on the cover, but
Mm.
there is what could be called the lava stream from the Kilauea volcano. So, depends on what you're looking for.
Well, testing things out, I think that's a
Yes.
very, very important part of the process. And excited to see how your creativity continues to unfold. Is there any closing remarks or anything else you'd like to share?
Well, only that I appreciate your interviewing me, and I'm hoping some people will learn something.
No, it was great, and maybe we could even have you back if it's not a technical hassle. We don't want to go through that
Right.
again
I'm not sure
necessarily.
why that took so long, but I'm here.
Well, no, I think I'm glad I was patient because I think we had a quick but good conversation. So really appreciate you and you sharing your work with us.
Well, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, thank you, Spark Infinity. I'll see you again tomorrow. Hope you're having yourself a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whatever it might be. Goodbye for now.